ever wanted to create a Scratch game that's really cool and interactive? Well, now you can. With the first episode of HowCore, I will be teaching you how to create a Scratch game just like this. In this game, we will be controlling a character. In this case, it's a dragon. We have to dodge the rocks. If you get hit, you can see the variable on the right, and I'll explain all about that later, decreases. This number where my cursor on shows you the amount of lives that you have. Also, if you are in an inescapable place, you may click space to shoot a fireball. Let's start programming. The first thing we're going to do is go to My Stuff, and we're going to click New Project. This project will have no name, and we can name that later. But first, we're going to need a character. The original and only character that you have on your screen at the moment is a Scratch Cat. We can change that by simply clicking right and delete. Next, let's paint a new sprite. Actually, why don't we take a sprite from the library, just because this is our first episode. I want to choose this butterfly. Actually, this one. And I'm going to play around with it, and I think it's pretty good. So I'm going to position it where I want it. And this, basically positioning it where you want it to be, helps put it in the right X position or Y position, and you're going to need that for your game. If you go to the right side of your screen, you can see a picture of your character or sprite in Scratch, and its X and Y coordinates. Basically, this is going to be our starting position. So we're going to do when flag clicked go to X -174 and Y 7. This puts it when the flag is clicked, which means when the program is started, it'll automatically go to the position where I started it at. Let's try it. Perfect, it does. Now let's program it to move. We want it to always happen, not just once. So we're going to put a forever loop. And we're going to say if the up or down arrow key is pressed. So we're going to put a couple of if blocks. Then we need to put key up arrow pressed. If you aren't confused about what this does, just read the whole thing. It says, if key up arrow pressed. That should be pretty straightforward. Next, we're going to change Y by a certain number. What this does is you can see here that the Y is 7. When we click the up arrow, it will change Y by 5, which means that the new Y position when we click the up arrow will be 12. We have to put the down arrow at the exact same one, just the negative one. Now, when we click play, our character can move up and down. Awesome. Next, we're going to program the obstacles. Let's paint a new sprite. Painting a sprite is simple, and I like to use vector because it's better quality. I'm going to make a simple circle just for my obstacle. We can color any shade you want, from red to pink, magenta, whatever. This will be our obstacle. Now we need to program this obstacle so that it moves from the right side of the screen to the left side of the screen. This is simple. Again, when the flag clicked, which means when the program starts, we want to say, go to this X position. And now we're going to say, repeat until, touching edge. Now what this means is that until it touches the edge, it's going to do the program, or the blocks inside this repeat until. Let's put a change X by 10. Now what happens if we put a change Y? This means that our obstacle will go up and down, but X means it'll go left and right. And that's what we want. So now when we click flag, you can see it moves. Excellent. But now we want it to hide once it touches that. Let's see what it does. Awesome. Just what we wanted. But now we don't want just one obstacle. So let's create clones. Now what a clone does is, well, it does what it says. It creates a clone of itself, which can do whatever you want it to do. But keep in mind, whenever you create a clone, all clones must do the same thing, unless you use variables. But we'll get into that later. When I start as a clone, I want to repeat until touching edge, change X by 7. But what do I do with this? I want to create a forever loop. Let's see what this looks like. Wait, why isn't there anything? Well, of course, because it's hiding. Whatever the original does, unless you change the clone script, it'll do the same thing. So let's put a show block. Let's see what this looks like. Whoa! What's wrong with this? This is what's wrong. When we're starting from the same exact X position and we're keeping it the same thing. And no matter what, it'll stop. Now see how it ended? That's because we've overridden the program. We won't want to do that. So let's put a wait second. Now what does this do? Aha! See how they come? Now they don't just come in one straight line, they come at intervals. This is what the wait 1 second block does. It's like a delay. Alright. But you can see here there's one problem. You can see when it hits the edge, it doesn't disappear. That's a simple fix. We have to delete the clone once it touches the edge. Perfect. But that's not very difficult to dodge because it's all coming in the same place. Well, that's also an easy fix. We've set a Y position, which means that there can be no other, it can't vary. It's only one position. But we can change that by saying go to X, 218, Y, pick random. Minus 240, for example, to 240. Pick random means that it'll pick a random number from minus 240 to 240. Let's start it. Perfect. But again, we run into another problem. The obstacles go right through the butterfly. That's another quick fix. What we got to do is repeat until touching edge, or that means it might do either it's doing this or that. Butterfly 2, which is the name of our sprite, and then delete this clone. Now see if it touches us. Perfect. But if a person just comes into this game, they'll say, oh, then the blue stuff must be food because I'm not dying or anything. Well, you need lives, and that's a simple thing. The variable name, we're going to create a variable. Go to data and click make a variable. Name it lives. Perfect. Now, we're going to put this lives anywhere on the screen you want. And we're going to say, whenever it hits this guy, change lives by -1. And in the beginning, we're going to set the lives to 5. So that means we have 5 lives. Now let's test this. Awesome. But wait a minute. How is it going into negative numbers? And how am I losing without even touching anything? You can see how I'm what's happening? Well, this is a simple thing. You see, we have to say when it comes to 0, we're going to kill the butterfly. I know, sounds so sad. But anyways, we're going to say if lives is equal to 0 or it's smaller than 0, we're going to delete it. We're going to make it hide. We're going to make it game over. Okay? We're going to put lives in here and lives in here. We're going to say stop all. And this means that once you get to 0, boom, you're dead. But there's a problem. You see, we're losing lives without even doing anything. And this is because if it touches the edge, it also deletes a life. So the way to fix this is if touching butterfly, then change lives by -1. Now let's take a look. If we dodge that, it doesn't take anything away. But if we touch this, we just lost a life. Perfect! Now there's another thing that's really bad. I don't think this looks really realistic. There aren't any white backgrounds in real life, so let's change it. We can create one, upload a picture, take a picture, or choose one from the existing library. Let's choose one. I like this blue sky because it looks realistic. Awesome! Now we have a realistic looking game. Epic. But there's yet another problem. If a person comes, they might not know what to do. We can add directions, and directions are simple. All we gotta do is turn into the editor for the backdrops and click the T. This adds text. You can change the font as well. Choose the color of your text and click anywhere where you want to type, and then start typing your text. I'm gonna say click the up and down arrows to move. move. Then I'm going to say in another color, in red, actually, I'm going to do that, or magenta, don't touch blue. Don't touch the blue balls. Oops. Oopsies. Okay. Don't touch the blue balls. Awesome. So now we know what we have to do. And look at this game. It's perfect. All we gotta do is move up and down to control our butterfly to avoid these blue balls of death. And if we do that, we'll get... Wait, what do we get? We should add a score. Let's add that right now. We need to make another variable called score. We're going to click the sprite one. You can always rename it later. Rename it by clicking the I and deleting this text. We're going to call it obstacle so that it's more clear what this is. Now we're going to say set score to 0 so that you don't start off with 1,000. Now let's say if touching edge, that means you've dodged it because it didn't touch you. And we're going to change the score by 1. If touching edge, change score by 1. And look at this. If we get hit by 1, we die. And look, our score just increased. There's another problem. You see how it's just going up no matter what? That happens because of a number of things. You see, when it touches the edge, it deletes itself, but it's not being able to read it fast enough. So we're going to say, wait 1 second, and then delete this clone. And you can see how that changes it. Perfect. But now it just looks ugly. So we're going to have to say hide. Change score by 1 and wait 1 second. Perfect. But again, we started at 1. Why is that? Well, we set the score to 0 when we began. But see, there were already existing obstacles at the edge because when we stopped it, there were some already there. So we're going to have to say, wait 1 second for this to start, to set everything back to 0 and stuff. And perfect. That's how you make a game.